Why is Nietzsche so misunderstood? Nietzsche is widely considered one of the most controversial philosophers of the 19th century philosophical tradition, often labeled a nihilist and an immoralist. There are two main reasons behind the common misunderstanding of Nietzsche as a nihilist and an immoralist. The first is his radical critique of the Western philosophical and theological tradition. The second is the ambiguous and interpretive nature of his philosophy, expressed largely through aphorisms rather than systematic arguments. This enigmatic style has resulted in varied interpretations from philosophers such as Heidegger, Deleuze, and Derrida, among others. In this video, we'll clarify why Nietzsche shouldn't simply be labeled as an immoralist or a nihilist. To get started, let's take a closer look at how Nietzsche actually thought about morality. When we speak about Nietzsche's philosophical view of morality, it is essential to know that he is the most influential critic of morality in the philosophical tradition. In his struggle against morality, Nietzsche identifies himself as the first immoralist in his work Ecce Homo, and radically questions traditional value judgments. But what exactly does he mean by immoralist? In Ecce Homo, Nietzsche states, "Nothing has been more strange and more foreign to my blood than the whole of that European and American species known as libres penseurs, incorrigible blockheads and clowns of modern ideas. They wish to improve mankind after their own fashion, that is to say, in their own image, against that which I stand for and desire. They would wage an implacable war if only they understood it. The whole gang of them still believe in an ideal. I am the first immoralist." Here, in addition to defining himself as the first immoralist, Nietzsche also criticizes the 19th century positivist and rationalist intellectuals in a sharply scornful tone. But Nietzsche did not call himself an immoralist just once. He returned to the term and made it even bolder. "I am by far the most terrible man that has ever existed. But this does not alter the fact that I shall become the most beneficent. I know the joy of annihilation to a degree which is commensurate with my power to annihilate. In both cases, I obey my Dionysian nature, which knows not how to separate the negative deed from the saying of yea. I am the first immoralist, and in this sense, I am essentially the annihilator." This passage illustrates how Nietzsche understands both his destructive and creative aspects, particularly within the framework of the Dionysian nature. Here, annihilation symbolizes not merely physical destruction, but also the dismantling of old value systems and moral structures. For Nietzsche, such destruction is in fact part of a greater yes, an affirmation of life in all its contradictions. Despite his radical critiques of morality and his own self-identification as an immoralist, some Nietzsche scholars argue that he does not truly support immoralism. They emphasize that Nietzsche never suggests abandoning all values. Instead, he attempted to identify new possibilities for life-affirming values, as opposed to the life-denying values praised by respected moral traditions and Christianity. But what exactly does Nietzsche mean by life-affirming values? Although Nietzsche does not explicitly use the term life-affirming values in his works, the affirmation of life is undeniably central to his philosophy. Nietzsche believes Western civilization and culture have been in a state of decline since the time of Socrates. Two main reasons can be proposed for this decline, both of which deny the value of the world we live in. The first is that, beginning with Socrates, Western metaphysics has accepted the existence of a single absolute truth located beyond the earthly world. In this framework, the task of the philosopher is to reach that transcendent truth. The other reason for this decline is that the philosophers of Western metaphysics do not regard this world as the true world. On the contrary, they consider the world we live in to be merely a world of appearances. According to this view, genuine reality lies in another realm that transcends sensory experience. Nietzsche addresses this issue in Twilight of the Idols. Any distinction between a true and an apparent world, whether in the Christian manner or in the manner of Kant, in the end, an underhanded Christian, is only a suggestion of decadence, a symptom of the decline of life. As is clearly seen in this passage, these kinds of assumptions in Western metaphysics are precisely what Nietzsche criticizes as life-denying. At this point, he advocates for a set of life-affirming values, values that embrace life as it is, with all its tragedy, pain, and beauty, and that seek to transform the human being through this very act of affirmation. Thus, Nietzsche should not be simplistically labeled an immoralist, since Nietzsche opposed not merely Western metaphysics and Christian values, but also pursued life-affirming values that embrace existence. Nietzsche's critique of morality also brings with it discussions of nihilism. According to Nietzsche, traditional moral values have collapsed. However, this collapse should not lead to nihilism, but rather to the creation of new life-affirming values. In his words, nihilism. It is ambiguous. A. Nihilism as a sign of increased power of the spirit, as active nihilism. B. Nihilism as decline and recession of the power of the spirit, as passive nihilism. For Nietzsche, nihilism is not the end. It is a challenge, a chance to say yes to life, even in pain. In conclusion, Nietzsche's philosophy challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about morality and nihilism. Rather than promoting immoralism or nihilism, Nietzsche calls us to affirm life and create meaningful values despite life's inherent difficulties. So, what do you think Nietzsche was truly aiming for? Share your thoughts below. In next week's video, we'll explore a potential path this question could lead us down. Nietzsche's most famous and controversial concept, the Übermensch, and how it relates to the idea of living life over and over again. Join us in the next chapter, and don't forget to subscribe.